because I want to make sure that I get the concept that the person shared with me right before I share it. And that links to what I'm actually going to talk about today, which is about questions. And so I want to, people who've heard me talk or know me know that I'm really, really committed to certain types of questions and really, really in opposition to other types of questions. And the kinds of questions that I'm in opposition to are questions that aren't actually questions. And I consider that things like, why are you such a pain? That's not a question. Why don't you ever listen to me? That's not really a question. Or questions that actually are intended to have yes no responses. Because generally, when I'm asking questions that have yes no responses, it's because I'm trying to build to some point that I'm trying to make. So, do you believe this? Or do you believe this? Or whatever it happens to be. But it's not really a question, and ultimately, I'm positioning myself in relation to another person in a way that I'm really trying to move away from in my life. And so the kinds of questions that I'm interested in, vastly speaking, are invitations into territories that neither one of us are familiar with. Like something that's going to require a response that's more than one word I consider a good question. Something that's not, and so it doesn't have an agenda. It's not about trying to get somebody to say some specific more than one word. And my favorite questions are the ones where I really have no idea what the answer is going to be, and like a question like, what does it say about what you're standing for, that this is where you're coming from, and questions about, is it how do you understand, this context, or how do you understand this person's position, or how do you understand, and really a question that that I'm actually putting myself out there to get information that I don't already have. And again, sometimes my favorite questions are ones that I have no idea what the answer is going to be, and it's not even even in close to stuff that I've known before. Because the thing about that is that then then I'm actually really getting something out of what's going on. I'm not just trying to continue to justify a position that I already have. I'm not trying to convince myself of something that I already believe. I'm not, and a lot of times, in these kinds of questions, I'm not trying to do anything in the context of some goal. I'm just asking questions, and not that's actually I'm not just asking questions. That creates this neutral territory that's not about it all. I have a really specific agenda, but it's to get to a kind of an unknown territory. And so I'm not just asking questions. I'm very specifically asking a certain type of question that can open up possibilities. And so, I'm intentionally not saying what those questions are that I ask, because I don't want to limit it to that. And what I'm more actually trying to do is toss out from my vocabulary certain types of questions, like questions that are yes no questions, or questions that are really statements masked as questions. So I'm throwing out as an idea to consider is, what would it be like if that was a practice that somebody else were to take up, and and the other thing that I think is really important about ideas like this is that that we not weaponize them. And I know my friend Tiffany Soster brought this to my attention, and their position about weaponizing is to take something that's essentially, to weaponize something is to throw it at somebody else. Never thought about it that way, like a hand grenade. You're not doing this, and this, you're not being open about questions, or these are the wrong questions. I mean, trying to enforce this on somebody else is not at all what I'm suggesting. It's something that I've taken up myself that I find extraordinarily useful for me, and I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. So, because I'm also not trying to throw it on you. So anyway, that's what I got for today. That's what Six with Dr. Joel. I will be back actually later on today, do a music live stream sometime around 2:30. So if you're interested in that, do that. If not, I'll see you tomorrow, or you'll see me.